Welcome back, Sebastian here. So time for my preview for the 2024 Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. So of course, this is a race we haven't had in 2 years. Last year, the race was cancelled because of the pretty catastrophic floods that were taking place in Italy at the time. It's been quite a while since we've last had this race. But last time out, Verstappen led home Perez in a Red Bull 1-2, with Lando Norris rounding out the podium in third. Some notable moments from that race was Verstappen's Grand Slam, second Grand Slam of his career. Sainz DNF'd on the opening lap, and Leclerc spun trying to catch Sergio Perez. Also notable from that race, that was the race where Max Verstappen lapped Lewis Hamilton on track. It's quite infamous moment after all the tension from the 2021 season. I think it's quite prophetic now, given that Mercedes are still kind of stuck in the depths of the midfield at this point. But anyway, now moving on to the MLS circuit itself, 4.909 kilometers. We're expected to have 63 laps on Sunday. The lap record is a 1:15.484, which was set by Lewis Hamilton in 2020. I don't think that's being broken anytime soon. Now the track itself, very much an old school track, quite narrow, lots of gravel runoff, not a whole lot of tarmac, and a very, very tricky, very technical circuit as well. It's a circuit where overtaking is quite hard, so qualifying will be very important on Saturday. In terms of overtaking opportunities, realistically turn 2, the entrance of the Tamburello chicane is really your best option. And of course, for that to work, you're going to need to have a really strong exit out of turn 18, which is Rabazza. But quite a few chicanes around this track. You have Tamburello, you have Villeneuve, you have Acqua Minerale, which isn't really a chicane, but you do have changes of direction there. And then you have the Variante Alta as well. So having that stability in changes of direction, I think, is also going to be a key characteristic. And if cars are able to exploit that, I think they'll do pretty well at this circuit. Quite a variety of types of corners as well in terms of cornering speed. You also have Tosa, which is the slowest speed corner on the track, but you do have a lot of medium and higher speed corners as well. So should be a pretty interesting race. And of course, a lot of teams bringing upgrades to this track for the first time, the big first upgrades this season. Now, in terms of other notes, Albon, of course, I believe yesterday, as of recording this video, has signed a new contract with Williams that will keep him at the Grove outfit through 2026. So it didn't specifically say how many years it is, but I would expect it's basically a 2-year, or it's basically a 1 year, possibly 1+1 kind of deal, extension on top of his current deal, which was set to expire at the end of next year. So he'll be with Williams at least until the end of the 2026 season. Now, moving on to the schedule for this weekend. So in red we have the Formula 1, and then in blue we have Formula 2. So Friday, the weather 23 degrees, sunny, and that's for the second free practice session. But anyway, starting at the morning session, Formula 2 free practice 11:05 in the morning, FP1 for Formula 1 13:30 local time, and then qualifying for Formula 2 4 p.m. local time. FP2 will then be at 5 p.m. And that will round out Friday's sessions. Moving on to Saturday, again the weather for the afternoon session, sunny with 24 degrees Celsius. FP3 will be at 12:30 p.m. local time, and then the Formula 2 sprint race will be at 2:15. Qualifying will be at 4 p.m. And that will be the end of your Saturday running. Now, moving on to Sunday, according to Google, it looks like there is a 60% chance of rain/thunderstorms on Sunday afternoon, so that's definitely going to be something to watch for. Temperature 22 degrees, so slightly cooler, but yeah, that weather may play a factor in the race. For the Sunday schedule, Formula 2 feature race 10 a.m. local time, and then the Grand Prix 3 p.m. sharp. So your compounds for this weekend, softest 3 compounds in the Pirelli range, soft C5, medium C4, and the hard C2. So definitely interesting to see how that will affect the strategy. That being said, because overtaking is so difficult, I would expect to see a medium-hard one-stop strategy be the preferred strategy throughout the race, unless we get rain, in which case, all bets are off in that case. Now, talking about drivers who have the best form and the worst form at this track in qualifying, the best 3 drivers Russell 100% rate of out-qualifying his opponent at this track. And then Verstappen and Bottas at 67%. When you look at the average qualifying margins for Russell, just over 3/10 of a second. For Verstappen, 4.5 tenths of a second, and then for Bottas, just shy of 3/10 of a second. When you look at the three worst drivers in qualifying here, a bit of an odd list. You have some drivers who you would expect to be in that section, but at least one who you're a bit surprised is there. So Ocon, worst 33%. He's from, I believe, 3 races at that track, because of course no race last year. 0.637, so over 6/10 gap there. That's almost certainly going to be affected by a wet weather session. Stroll 33% as well, but the gap's not so big. 0.089, so just shy of a tenth of a second. And then you have Hamilton, who has been out-qualified here 2 of the 3 times that we've had a Grand Prix, but when you look at the average, he's on average out-qualified his opponent by 0.003 of a second. So that's just kind of how math works there. Not going to bother explaining it here, but so those are just kind of giving an idea of who's been on very strong form here in the past 3 years. Of course, Alonso raced here back in like the early 2000s, but I didn't include that because qualifying back then was very, very different. Now, finishing up with some predictions for this weekend. I know Lando Norris won the Grand Prix last time out of Miami, but at this point, especially since we have a full weekend, not a sprint weekend, I think it would be pretty realistic just to stick with the Verstappen win. Then moving on from that, I think that's where things get a bit tricky. Perez did quite well here in 2022. Red Bull should be pretty strong. So I think Red Bull 1-2, Verstappen leading home Perez, I think would make sense. Now, rounding out the podium, obviously a track in Italy, Ferrari will want to do well. Therefore, Leclerc, of course, didn't get on the podium last time out in 2022. Perhaps he gets on the podium again. So that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Verstappen, Perez, and Leclerc for the podium for Imola. Knowing that all 3 drivers will DNF and we'll have another Lando Norris win. But there you go. There's my preview for the 2024 Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. Should be a pretty exciting one. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.